I would like to see it change. I would like to see what you're selecting out of these areas, even hiring talent, building your teams, is directed by what your current state is, what your strategy is. Is that informing these decisions? Or is sales, marketing informing these decisions? Like how do you start, right? And I know we've gone over, this, right? The whole NIST framework, right? And these are the controls, but you can't just jump really right into that and expect, I've got a program now, right? It begins with an assessment, right? And I think what I want to kind of walk folks through is just a basic process of what should you look for in an assessment? How should you go about it? What's the expectations, right? So if we're starting simply, okay, baseline stuff, okay. If we start, kind of in the beginning, okay, let's ask ourselves a series of questions. Let's align to a standard. If it's NIST, okay, if it's ISO, whatever it is. But again, I'm going to go back and say it's going to be, let's using the NIST framework. Even if we don't want to get complex, right? There's 108 controls, right, within the NIST framework. You could go through, and if you've never done your own self-assessment, as you should at least do that once to get a good firm understanding of the controls, right? You should know what you're being assessed against. You could go through and assess yourself against all 108 controls. It will take a while, but it will be a great learning experience for you, for the organization as a whole. I think what we've seen is people don't want to go ahead and go through that. So I think what we've developed and trying to take an approach on is how do you capture what's going on with these 108 controls in a more digestible fashion so that you can do something with it, right? I think everybody wants to have an easy way to get to things. So if you can use some type of matrix set of controls, right? And those are out there to be able to ask those questions and have them map, right? Kind of back to our, one of our initial videos of one to many, right? Types of approaches. I think that's a good way. But if you can't do any of that, okay, start with what you can have. Just start baseline. So if you've never done an assessment, first. So what are we saying? Okay, let's go through and do an assessment of our own organization. Okay, now it's always ideal to have an expert doing these, but I think the controls are written in such a way now that you could go ahead and assess your own organization through NIST. You could ask these questions, basically questions of you and your enterprise, your organization as a whole. Some of these questions will outright, these are not applicable to me. And that's fine, right? NIST is not I had a great discussion yesterday with a group. NIST is not a compliance standard. It is a tool to leverage and to use and put a view of ultimately what we're trying to address is look at the risk inside of the organization. What's the lens you're going to use to be able to determine that? So we go through this. Out of this body of work, right, you want to have a kind of a current state, understanding what do I look like today? This is important, right? This is your today document, okay? Boards, executive leadership, this is what they want to know first. What are we doing today? Are we good today? What do we look like? What's our risk look like today? Inevitably, then, everybody wants to then jump into what do we have to go do? This, I'm going to spell this wrong. Forgive me. That's what you get for live. I can't edit that out. What do we need to do tomorrow? Starting tomorrow, how do we take this current state, right? And in NIST, they characterize it as is, right? And then the tomorrow state, really, this is what you need to do, which then drives to what NIST views as So this is kind of like your prioritized list. This is your to be. Okay, so you've got these two major kind of stances. Okay, as is, to be. Okay, where you are, where you need to go to. Now you can do this and determine where you want to be on maturity, implementations, really whatever. But what comes out of here, your current state, really as you're looking at your controls and what it is that you want to be doing, even the maturity levels of what you want to be doing, right? Do I just want policies? Do I want policies with really robust procedures and capabilities on top of it? Fully automated? Like as you go up the stack, it becomes much more and more mature. But do you actually have anything in place today? That's like step one. Can you do that? That tells you what your as is. It's a great sentence. What falls out of this and what you're not doing, and what I love about control sets is the answers are there for you, right? Each control allows you to go, do I do this or not? I do. Guess where it's going to go? We're going to just go all over the map with the colors today. I do have it. I am doing this. It's going here, right? I don't do that function. It's going here, okay? What I think my approach has been is like, what this allows you to then take is a really clear way where you're not diverging from a control set to be able to then determine, again, where am I today? What do I need to go do? Looking at this, and this is where you get, this is kind of where it gets a little tricky and a little messy. You make the decision, is the enterprise risk appetite, is the overarching risk appetite, the tolerance for the organization, is it what we're doing today, and based on what we have to do, is it within the tolerance of the organization? If the answer is no, you now have a to-be state that you have to address. Okay, this is where you're going to. This is what you need to be working on because you've established essentially your risk tolerance level is, if this is the chart, your risk tolerance is here for the organization, for whatever it is, okay? That then becomes, if what you're doing within this space is below, okay, as I'm looking at my control is here, here, here. Oh, I got one control that's here. This one's good. This one's bad. Right? This is the view that you need to take. Is it above the line or below the line? This is our risk appetite, okay? If it's above our appetite, it means something that we're not willing to tolerate. These actions need to drive into your to-be state, okay? Now, it's not as simple as just now capturing kind of all of this and then saying, oh, here's all the things that are now above my risk tolerance level, okay? What you're left with is, an actionable list of items, controls, areas of risk that you need to address. But what you don't have in this to-be state is, in what priority do I address them? Are they all the same level? Are they all a risk that I need to address at the same time? Can I push some of this risk out? And this is a great discussion that we had with some folks yesterday. You go back to your traditional risk management framework. Do you accept the risk? Do you mitigate, right? Or remediate that risk? Do you transfer that risk, possibly to a like an insurance provider, another service, whatever, accept, mitigate, transfer, and I'm going to mess this up. Remediate? Is it remediate? Yeah, it's remediate, right? Mitigate, remediate, accept, transfer. Do you make this risk, so mitigation to me is outright close it, remediate, or I guess reduce the risk, right, to an acceptable level that maybe just now it was a high, now we made it a low. Acceptance is just, I'm not doing anything, I'm going to keep it as is. Transfer, shift it over to somebody else, and this is traditionally where we're seeing insurance play in here. What we want to do is, we have this unfortunate bucket over here of risk that we tend to create and fill up, which I like to categorize as the ignore bucket. This is not an acceptable fifth way to address risk as a whole, okay? It's not. We don't want to do this. Things need to come out of this bucket and go into one of these four. You have to make, even if it is accept, okay? This is the thing, is people are like, well, we'll just accept it. You don't accept a risk if you just leave it in the ignore bucket. You accept the risk by stating that you're going to address it, right? Document it, put it away, put it on your risk register, come back to it later, accept it for the time being, accept it forever, whatever you choose. But acceptance comes down to making a decision about whether or not you're going to do something about it. Not doing anything keeps that risk in the ignore bucket, which is what we don't want. So, again, back to what was the priority. So those things that are above that you're going to address are going to be in your 2B. Okay, you need to then prioritize what those controls are that, you need to, let's say they're, the detect, 1, 2, 4. Say these are the 4 risks or controls that we found outside of our appetite, outside of our threshold and tolerance. We need to do something about these today. So I'm just doing a time check. Ooh, 20 minutes. Okay, we still got 9 people. Hi everyone. How's everyone out there? Hopefully everybody sees that comments coming through. Thanks. We need to prioritize these because you're not going to do all of them at the same time. You're not going to do all of them today. You might not even get to them this year. Looking at the weight of each of these controls, you can then determine, oh, I'm going to go do this one, this one, this one, and in what order, okay? Create that. That becomes a roadmap, okay? This essentially, with your 2B state, your to-do, in what order, drives to your 2B state. That essentially is your cybersecurity roadmap. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what's our roadmap? How does it look? What's it made up of? And it's interesting, people don't jump, or they kind of just jump right into this roadmap, like, oh, our 2B state needs to look like this. It's like, well, how did you arrive at that conclusion? Did you come up with it based on what you look like today? Did you do some level of understanding of the organization as a whole to figure out what you can or can't do and line it up against business priorities? Or was it just, no, this is what we need to look like, this is what perfect looks like? No one's getting to what perfect looks like. So take a thoughtful approach. So again, I think this is where we like to start, and I think people underestimate or just skip this step of doing the diligence around what we have, current state. And then, what we like to do and see is the guidance, right, from here into, your subject matter expert within your organization, whether it's outsourced, you got some vCISO, we predominantly do that. You have your own CISO, maybe you have a CIO that's kind of doing double duty, right? Or maybe if you're a smaller organization, it's even, maybe it's even this is happening at an engineering level. Whoever it is, or even just outside consultants, right? Whoever it is that you're leveraging needs to take this information and help you, right? Engineering, these folks are your internal people, so if you can leverage them, great. If you don't have them, you need to go out to somebody, okay, to help you out with this if you're not a cybersecurity expert. And most business owners aren't, right? They're in business to do their business work. They're not security experts. They outsource it or they leverage other people. That's the name of the game. Shepherd this information to your 2B state. So it's a matter of engagement, okay? And you have your cyber strategy, you have your roadmap, okay? You have a 2B state that you are now all marching to. This could be 6 months, it could be 24 months, it could be 48 months. Whatever it is, you have a 2B state. You might even have milestones set within this where, we want to get X amount of risk or controls addressed by here, then some by here, and then some by here. That's your plan. It's part of your roadmap, okay? It's part of your strategy. Your strategy is where you want to get to from where you are today. You're going to ask now, well, how do we address these controls, right? And I think what we've seen is the current emergence, or just the current, not even emergence, just the kind of onslaught, really, of products, services that are being sold outright to address these controls. And I want you to think to yourself, have I bought products or services, or even hired talent? Have I outsourced, and this would be more services, but like managed, outsourced capabilities? Have I done these things? Did I do them after understanding what my current state is, getting a level of expertise, addressing a roadmap to move towards my to-be state? Or did I look at these capabilities here from a budget lens and just said, you know what, I think I need that because I was told I do, or what? I'm not sure what kind of motivates people to jump into this, but this seems to be the trend, and I would like to see it change. I would like to see what you're selecting out of these areas, even hiring talent, building your teams, is directed by what your current state is, what your strategy is. Is that informing these decisions? Or is sales, marketing informing these decisions? Because if that's the case, if you did this backwards and now said, oh, I bought this product, it does X, would it overlap and address the gaps out of your current state on your to-do list? Or would it do double duty? Would you find yourself saying, oh, wait, I have this product does 50% of what this other product I have in my organization does today? Did I make the right choice? Was that a smart investment for the organization? Did it reduce the risk in the way that I believed it? Was that the risk I needed to reduce if all things kind of out on the table and known? Well, I think that's where I think we as a practitioners, I think that's where we as purchasers, consumers, organizations, enterprises, governments, whomever, this is where we need to, I think, look and change our tune. We need to start driving it from our risk, okay? And our risk is determined by some set of an understanding, then cultivated and curated by subject matter experts who understand this space, to then drive towards a to-be state through a roadmap. And then, as they say, let the chips fall. And that should then dictate where it is you're purchasing something. Anyway, just some thoughts. Thought I'd put it out there. Had some opportunities here at lunch to go over this. I'm glad everyone stuck around. Thanks for everybody for being online. And I hope to see everyone soon. And please, just if we could just start making this happen today and getting MFA rolled out across the board. This is Brian Hoagley with SideChannel. Follow me around social media land on SizzleLife, #SizzleLife, and I will talk to you next time. Thanks.